Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, Voyagers. Mentoring and being a protege. I'm going to share with you some of my experience as, I would say, maybe an advanced protege. When I first started Toastmasters back in 1985, I had a very good mentor. And some of you may have known Larry Mulvey from Fireside Toastmasters. He was quite involved in the district down there back in the 80s. And he was my initial mentor. He taught me a lot about Toastmasters and how to get myself going in it. However, down the road, many years, I was looking at, I'd like to have another mentor. So who was I going to choose as a mentor? I thought, first, what are my needs? What do I really want to do with this whole experience of increasing my communication skills? And as I looked around, I identified a person that many of you may know or be familiar with also, and that is Darren LaCroix. Darren LaCroix has been in Toastmasters for quite some time. He is an accredited speaker. And in 2014, we had Darren LaCroix at District 7 up here for a conference. And during that time, it came to me, I think I would like to have Darren as my mentor. So I spent a little time with him during that conference and talked to him, and he agreed to mentor me. I thought, wow, that's really great. How do we do that then? Because we couldn't do that face to face at that time, so it was mainly on the telephone. But we talked, and Darren gave me a considerable amount of insight into the process of developing your skills at a higher level. And one of the key things that he showed me was to always be ready to do a talk, always. And as I thought about that, it made a lot of sense, because the more you do something, the better you're going to become at it. Many of you probably know the 10,000 hour format that says it takes 10,000 hours to get really good at something and be a professional. Speaking and communicating is no different. And as I thought about that, I thought of the mindset that it takes to do something like that. And Darren told me that you always have a talk prepared. That means that you have to get ahead of yourself. Now, I was a dyed-in-the-wool procrastinator. I could procrastinate until doomsday. I realized that was my biggest challenge, procrastination. However, Darren helped me develop that mindset to really look at what the goal was that I wanted to accomplish and what it really took to get to that place. Well, I started getting ahead of myself on my talks. I began to prepare a few speeches ahead. And with the old program that we had before, that wasn't too difficult to do because I had all the manuals, and I would just go into manuals and I would make notes by different talks of different ideas that I had for those talks. And he told me to make notes about the different elements of those ideas and just make those notes in the book. And I started doing that. And by golly, ideas started just flowing. And I kept putting ideas together. As I began to really formulate the ideas into talks, I realized that what I was doing was internalizing the information that was already there with me. And as I spoke those words in practice, they became more internalized. And the more I committed to being ready for a talk, the more I looked at planning ahead. When I started doing a talk off the cuff, so to speak, I was at a meeting and the Toastmaster said, well, we only have 2 speakers today. I guess we'll have to just do a little more table topics. That was my opportunity. The first thing I thought was, do I raise my hand or do I just sit here and let us lose a speech? And I remembered what Darren told me, always be ready. I raised my hand. I said, I have a talk. And I sat there for a moment and just shook. And I thought, do I really have a talk ready? Yes, I did. And I got up and presented that talk. After that, I was ready. Every time I went to a meeting and there was an open spot, I raised my hand and took that spot. That was because my mentor showed me and helped me develop the mindset to always be ready. Mr. Toastmaster.